I think one of the coolest tools that we have is something called the Performance Monitor, and it takes some getting used to the thing to learn how to really make best use of it. I'll just type PERF, perfmon is actually the name of the file. I'm going to click it and start it up. And I do have a basic performance monitor right here. If I click on it, you can see it's collecting the percent processor time. And I'm using quite a bit of my processor time. Let's close down a process that I think is using a lot of it. And look at this thing dive, take a nosedive. Now it's down here to maybe 1 or 2 or 5% at the most. If I start a process up again that uses a lot, look at it go back up, and now it's going to jump way up here to maybe 70 or so percent of my processor. Well, that's pretty cool, except that's only my percent processor time. There are lots of other things I could look at. They're called data collector sets, and I can set these things up. I'm going to make a user-defined data collector set. You can see I already have one here called Rogers data set. I'm going to delete that one. That's what I've used in the past. So just so I can demonstrate it, I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to right-click, say New Data Collector Set, and I will just call this My Data Set. All right, it'll be a manual one. And I'm going to make performance counters like that. And now I'm going to add what I want to monitor. Well, let me see. Let's say that I want to monitor processor, percent processor time. That was a good one, percent processor time. And maybe user time. And maybe idle time, like that. And then let's go up to maybe memory or something. Look how many of these things there are. There's a ton of these things. How about available megabytes and let me see, pages per second and so on. Alright, so I'm just going to add some of those. I'm going to change it so it samples every 1 second. And I'll just click next. Actually, we'll go ahead and click finish. And we've created a new data set. So now I would right click on this data set here and say start, and now it's going to begin collecting data. And I would let it run as long as I want to run it, and then click stop and go down here to reports. Under user defined, you'll see my data set, and if I open this up, I would now have a report. And now I didn't really let it go long enough to start collecting much, but if I let it go, I would now have all these counters down here. I'd have all these numbers associated with them, and then graphs of all these different things that I set up going on in here. And that's how we would use the performance monitor. It's really a fun tool, but as I said, it takes a little practice getting used to how to use all this stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed understanding and learning a little bit about how the performance monitor works.